Hi everybody, I'm Phil Fatika. Welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. A very special guest for you today, a gentleman who's been here before and brings with him a wealth of knowledge about mental health. Please let me introduce you to Bill Grove. Bill is the Chief Executive Officer of the Mental Health Association of Northwestern Pennsylvania. Welcome back. Always a
Thank you
pleasure
very
to have
much.
you, as Charlie Rose would say, at this table.
The pleasure is mine, Charlie.
Yeah. So thank you, yes. Behind, you'll see a poster that's behind Bill, and we'll explain that as we go on. But right now, what's new in mental health? I know we discussed off camera that there seems to be a growing trend, not only nationally, but also locally, called peer support. What is that?
Yes, peer support is something that certainly has existed for a very long time, and at the Mental Health Association we've been practicing peer support in what would be considered an informal nature for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is basically that persons with mental health issues can help themselves and can help each other through either support in the form of support groups, drop-in centers such as we have at the Mental Health Association.
And you should mention, where is that located?
1101 Peach Street.
Okay, so people, I'm sure, on the way into work or anything downtown, you've probably driven by 11th and Peach many times and wondering,
What's in that building?
What's in that building? Well, he's in that building. That gentleman's in that building. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's
Peer
okay.
support.
Yes, myself and a whole lot of other people.
Yes.
Yeah. In the past few years, there's been a trend towards more formal peer supports. There is a training for what are called certified peer specialists. These are consumers of mental health services, people generally with serious mental illness issues. Serious mental illnesses being primarily schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, major depression, borderline personality disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, those kinds of levels of serious illness. These folks are getting trained in a 2-week training program. And becoming certified, and that makes them eligible to be able to provide a formal peer support service, which is billable through medical assistance.
Wow.
They go out into the community and meet with their clients who are their peers, and provide supports in the sense of helping people with their activities, daily living, how do they get from place to place, getting to their appointments, budgeting.
And this, I would assume, is predicated, of course, on the fact that medications are being provided. Do you do that there at 11th and Peach? Are medications provided?
We do not. That aspect of recovery, of mental health recovery, are handled by other entities such as Stairways or Safe Harbor. We're sort of the third leg in that three-legged stool between therapy, medications, and this is then the support network that Mental Health Association offers.
I mentioned just a few moments ago that behind Bill is that poster from the Mental Health Association, and when they get another shot of Bill, you'll notice that there's the flower there, and is there any kind of a symbolism attached to that? I believe it's an orchid.
Yes, it's actually an iris.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
I don't know my flowers very well.
Well, there it is. There it is. You can see, yeah.
It's an iris.
And it's sort of unfolding.
Yes, and it's sort of a symbol regarding recovery, mental health recovery. It originated as symbolic out of Canada initially, and has sort of spread into this country as well, and so we adopted it as a part of our logo.
Nice, nice. The general question I want to ask Bill, and we discussed, we've known each other off camera, is that I don't believe that there's anybody watching us that has not known somebody within their circle of friends or relatives that have gone through a mental illness or a mental condition that we no longer throw them away and put them in snake pits or places where almost inhumane practices were conducted, and not that long ago. How did we get from that to understanding that it's like a broken leg, it's like a broken arm, you need medical help? Is there a point where you can say this happened, or is it so gradual it's really hard to pinpoint?
It has been gradual, and it really is ongoing. You know, we're still not necessarily to that stage where we can say that communities are fully welcoming to folks with serious mental illness. There's still a lot of stigma out there, but it is getting better all the time through efforts such as this,
That's nice.
getting
Thank
out
you.
there and getting the face of mental health consumerism and mental health consumers in the public eye. But if you can, probably the major turning point at least in the last 20 years, was around 1994 when there was a much more organized effort to bring people out of institutions, such as Warren State Hospital.
Yes,
We used to have hundreds of people at Warren State Hospital from Erie County. We now have like 44 beds left. We're treating people in communities successfully and helping them become part of the community.
Speaking of institutions, of course, public dollars support prisons, and the cry is always going out from many sources that there are people in prison who just simply do not belong there. We have too many mentally ill patients, people in prisons. Do you agree with that statement or disagree?
Yes, to a degree, I do agree that there certainly are more people who are in jail than perhaps need to be. We do have the good fortune of having treatment court here in Erie County, which is one way of diverting folks who may have committed some criminal acts. They're usually nuisance acts. Oftentimes when people think about jail, they think of the kind of serious violent crimes that are sometimes reported in the media about folks with mental health issues, which is also a misnomer in many ways. But most of the time, it's more nuisance kinds of issues, and very often they are also folks with mental health issues who are under the influence of some illicit substance at the time that they commit those crimes. But it does put them in that setting. There is an effort to aggressively pursue that and deal with that, both at the point of trying to keep people out of jail who don't belong there, but also when they are in prison, programs that help to provide treatment there.
You're very all-encompassing. You have a huge network of places where people can go. You have a website where people can check out what we're talking about more. I would assume that you have a website.
Yes, we absolutely do.
And that is?
It's a very good website at www.mhanp.org.
Mental Health Association Northwestern Pennsylvania.org.
Yes.
Phone number?
452-4462.
452-4462. And when I dial that, what happens? What do I get?
You're going to first get a welcome to the MHA, and then asking, as usual, if there's a particular person you're looking for. But you can ask for me personally, and I will be glad to return your call and give you more information. Certainly.
That's huge. You get the CEO on the phone. That's pretty amazing. That's great. You know, we've just come out of a very never-ending winter, never-ending snow, and I know that through the media people have heard that you are using a warming center at the Mental Health Association. Tell me about that.
Yes, during the day we of course have a day program where we have about 75 people coming through, and it's set up with laundry facilities. It's totally accessible to people with disabilities.
And when you say day program, they don't stay there. They don't live there.
No.
Okay.
No. But the nice thing about that was at the point that there was a request to take a look at doing some kind of a nighttime shelter to help when other shelter beds are full. We were able to say within 2 days we can be up and operating, because we can simply open our doors, and we do at 11 o'clock at night on any evening or any night where it's going to be 25 degrees or below.
And I would imagine that this particular season, this past season that just ended, that you would do booming business. You'd almost have to do turnaway business.
We've never had to turn anybody away yet.
Good.
But we've had as many as 50 people in there, and that fills you up pretty well.
Are those people invisible? When you say 50, that's a number, you know, and maybe you travel downtown, and I notice that in some places you will see people, they're not waiting for a bus in the bus shelters, which have been moved off State Street. They're trying to stay warm and live. And perhaps, are they invisible? Or they choose to be invisible?
Some choose to be invisible, and some you'll look at, as you say, you can look on the streets and sometimes you see somebody and think, I wonder if, and you may be right. But there are also a lot of people who don't look all that much different from you and me, who are struggling, who do not have a place to be. They may be living out of a car. They may be living out of a tent somewhere in some out-of-the-way area that we're not aware of.
Under bridges, off the railroad, by rail? I mean, I just generalize.
Yeah, any of those sites could be possible. They're not as visible, say, as you might find in the larger cities, where you'll see things tucked away under trestles and bridges. But they're definitely out there. We know that there are are 1,000, well, more than 1,000. We can't count them very well. We try our best
So
once
you're
a
saying
year.
1,000, you're saying 1,000 here in northwestern Pennsylvania, 1,000 in City of Erie, 1,000 in Erie County?
In Erie County.
In Erie County.
Yeah.
Is that a significant number?
Absolutely. You know, 1,000 people is a lot of folks to not have some place to call home.
Yeah. Are we understanding that in youth, in younger people, our children do have needs that are going unmet, that they do have mental issues, that they're not going to grow out of it? Are we more sensitive to their needs? I mean, it's not an old person's disease, I guess, is my lousy question.
Yeah. Yes, there certainly are children with a variety of different kinds of mental health disorders. You know, the ones we hear about, of course, are like ADHD or attention deficit disorder. But there are also sometimes precursors of other types of illnesses that may develop at a later point, such as bipolar disorder. Schizophrenia does not tend to afflict children per se, but you can see potentially some difficulties with thought and cognition, thinking that may lend some clues, but they usually hit right around the time of transition from childhood into adulthood.
A lot of my notes here, one of them a couple of them say that it's a point of make it a home always. What's that, make it a home always? What do you mean?
Well, it's really a part of addressing the homeless situation. Shelters are good, but they don't really solve the problem. The problem is if people don't have homes. It's a kind of a definition of homelessness. So Make It a Home Always is a HUD program that the county has gotten, and they have sort of subcontracted with the MHA with some of those dollars to have a mental health consumer run and driven program that's specially built for helping to house some homeless people who also have mental health disorders, who also may have a co-occurring substance abuse issue, and who may also have been involved in the criminal justice system. So these are the folks who are the most difficult to place into housing. We're going to see what we can do with at least some of those folks with these dollars.
Speaking of placing into housing, I would imagine, and I'm sure our viewers would like to know this too, the employment of people with mental illness, Have we reached a better ground in understanding that? I mean, if somebody walked in and had a broken ankle, you'd go, okay, you're okay, I understand that, but if they have something that requires daily medication, that perhaps, I don't know, ADHD, Asperger's, something mild like that. You got it. You've got about 4 days on that one.
Yeah, probably. But yes, the environment is improving in terms of the potential for hiring people with mental health disorders. With medication, treatment certainly is possible. That's part one. With that treatment, more people with mental health issues are feeling more confident in themselves and willing to pursue their dreams and employment may be a part of those dreams. And more opportunities are coming up for them to be able to seek employment through programs throughout the mental health system that can help them gain the soft skills needed to be able to be employable, as well as educational opportunities to learn skills.
You mentioned that downsizing of state hospitals like Warren State Hospital, and that's pretty much, I'm sure, taking place all around the country. That's not the preferred method of treatment anymore?
That's certainly true, and within the state, we've closed at least 2 state hospitals within the state system, and the vision eventually is to close all state hospitals. Now, whether that's going to be a realistic vision is yet to be seen, but the idea is that treating people in institutions is not as good for those folks, nor is it as good for their families than it is to have those folks somewhere closer to town, somewhere closer to their own communities.
Yeah. Ratchet it up to today, you see so many ads on TV that deal with drugs that are cures for depression. It's got to be $1 billion market, or moving the conversation over towards veterans coming back, wounded warriors who are committing suicide because of so much depression. You know, you got another week to talk about that one too. That's a large topic.
Well, yes, there is an awful lot of material on TV about different kinds of medications. I think, like everybody, they listen first to the medication and they listen to all the side effects, and they will probably never take it. Doc, don't give me that.
Right.
It's probably a better response. But it has always been an issue, though, with psychotropic medications, that there are side effects, and they can be pretty debilitating. They used to be very debilitating, but that side effect profile actually is improving over time, and medications remains one of the primary tools in the arsenal of combating mental health issues. And in terms of the veterans, we've been very impressed locally with the Veterans Administration, with the efforts that they're making at the VA locally and certainly nationwide too. There's still a lot of issues there, but they also have a peer-based program now that they operate, so that they get some consumers talking to consumers about their life situations and helping them to have the support to move on. But also they've got a day program for vets who are suffering from mental health issues as a result of their duty. So it's the effort is being made out there, but as we all know, it's still continually going to have to be stepped up as more and more of our troops come home.
One of my notes here says that you have a second chance computers. What does that mean? We live in a world where some of us, our phone is everything. Our
Yes.
phone is our TV. It streams things. It has everything on it. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I assume you don't mean that so much as a computer that actually would sit on a desk or a laptop.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
For many of the folks that we see, we deal with adult mental health consumers at the Mental Health Association predominantly. And for many of them, they came up during the years that I came up. There were no computers. The classrooms didn't have them, and they were never put in positions where they needed to have to use a computer, so they never really learned. And that, in this day and age, puts them at a serious disadvantage. It's almost a form of technical poverty that as people get better and recover, they can't access many of the tools that we routinely do, such as the internet, that we all take for granted because they just don't know about computers. So Second Chance Computers puts them in front of a computer, preferably a laptop, a used computer that people will donate.
At your place?
At our place,
Okay.
yeah. And they learn how to use it, they learn how to use the internet, and when they graduate from the program, they take the computer with them.
So here's an opportunity for all of our viewers that if you have that computer that you say, geez, I don't know, I want to upgrade or something, but you will take them.
If it's
They
a
have
good
to lock
working,
them in?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. And laptops are far preferable, because one of the problems we run into is, of course, when we send home a computer that's a tower rather than a
Sure.
laptop, the person may not have internet
Right.
there, but
Sure.
if it's a laptop, they can take it to McDonald's, they can take it to a hotspot someplace
Hotspots.
and still be able to use it
Oh, interesting.
as we all
interesting.
do.
Again, this is Bill Grove. Bill is the Chief Executive Officer of the Mental Health Association of Northwestern Pennsylvania, and they are located at 11th and Peach. They have a website. It's mhanp.org. Phone number down there, Bill, is
452-4462.
and the poster behind you pretty much is a nice symbol of the unfolding and the compassion of mental health that we've gravitated toward. Are we on the scale of, let's say, the world's up here and all the countries, where are we in a list of treating and understanding mental health patients? Are we kind of in the top 5, the top 10? Are we kind of on the bottom or the middle? Or?
It's a good question. I'd probably have to take my best guess at it.
Okay.
My best guess would probably be in the top 10.
Okay.
I think we have done an awful lot, even in this area. Pittsburgh, there's a lot of great research coming out of Pittsburgh on schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. So we're learning more and more all the time. But as we learn, we also find out there are just no easy, simple answers to all of this. Treatments continue to grow and improve. Our biggest obstacle continues to be stigma. It's hard for some people not to see persons with mental illness as either dangerous or damaged in some way, rather than somebody who has an illness, but there's a whole person wrapped around that small part of them.
Right.
And that person has an awful lot of potential if we can tap into that and help them tap into themselves.
One of the things also in my notes that Bill supplied me with here is that you have the Mental Health Lounge, which I can understand that because not everybody needs the jangling stimuli of the workaday world, but that's yours. What is the mental health? I got the Mental Health Association Lounge.
Yes, the MHA Lounge.
Yeah.
We just have started that recently because we've been sort of taking the pulse of folks who come to our drop-in center, and over the years the group has gotten younger. We're right in the inner city, and we have more people coming. We average around 75 people a day coming to the center. For people who their particular issues may cause them to react negatively towards lots of stimulation, lots of noise, lots of activity, they may not come to the MHA. And the MHA is for anybody who has been in treatment for a mental health issue. So we want to make sure that we're covering the bases that we need to. We want to make sure we have a place where those folks where that may be too much stimuli still have a place that they can come to, sit, have a conversation, a cup of coffee, play a game, but not be inundated by some of the noise with the pool table and the washing machines and the TVs and the video games going on. It can get pretty loud down there. So we're creating this alternative in the hopes of attracting folks who are just interested in having a peaceful place to be.
Nice. One of the things I was surprised to find out when we were going through our closets and we said, you know, these are gently used, we don't wear them anymore clothing, that you will accept these. And then I said, well, what do you think, what do you need the most of? And you said, socks. And that was just, I just went, what, socks? And you said, why? Why socks? And by the way, as we're talking here, if you have gently used clothing, anything else, books, I don't know where else. Well, what beside the socks, what else can you use?
Well, socks are certainly important, especially in the wintertime. A lot of the folks who come in who are homeless, both during the day or the night, that's where they get most cold. Is, you know, they're sloshing around out in the weather, the cold, and their feet get wet. The socks go bad. So socks, underwear, you know, the things that we often don't think about, those gently used may not be the best choice, but you may want to get new ones of those. But men's clothing, women's clothing, not children's, because we just don't get enough children coming through. But yeah, gently used clothing we will make use of. We have an area down in the basement where we wash everything that comes in, and we stack it and make it available to folks who don't have them.
Right there, right on 11th and Peach, just knock on the door and just, you can unload. There's a little pull off, I think, right there. You can, somebody come out and help you?
Yep, we'll come out and help you, and we'll want to get your name and telephone number and your email address if we can, because we want to send you a thank you for tax purposes, but also just because we really appreciate the effort on the part of the community.
Now, a lot of this is talking about people who are highly qualified to handle people of some special needs, but what about just volunteers? You know, a lot of people out there in this camera, a lot of people are saying, you know, I think I'm kind of qualified. I've had classes in, or gee, my degree is in, and I think you find out that now more and more people who are retired are saying, you know, I can do something about that. I have a lot of experience. So what kind of volunteers are you looking for?
Well, we're certainly looking for people who do have some of those qualifications if they know something about mental illness issues. But we're really open to most anybody who has an interest and would like to come down and talk to us about volunteering. In our particular environment, what you always have to recognize is you're really kind of coming to the consumer's turf. It's not a clinical program. It is a consumer-driven and run program, meaning the mental health consumers are our primary employees. And we're over 75% of the people who work for us are people who are diagnosed with a mental illness.
Say that again. That's a big statistic, I think, that should not go unnoticed.
Over 75%, yes, are people with mental illnesses who are working for us.
Working for you.
Yep, they are the primary source of staffing at the Mental Health Association. And our board of directors, 51% have to be members.
Have to be members.
Yeah,
That's fascinating.
consumers.
Yeah, we got a couple of minutes left here. The time always goes by too rapidly when you're here. Again, Bill Grove, CEO of the Mental Health Association of Northwestern Pennsylvania, talking about something that we all know a little bit about. We bumped into, we have relatives, we have friends, and we have neighbors who have had experiences, and we're so much more tolerant of this today. We're so much more understanding of this. You got the last couple of minutes. What does the public need to know? You want to stare into that camera over there?
Sure.
That's your camera right there.
Gosh, my very own camera.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess what I mostly want to let folks know is that the Mental Health Association is now 20 years old, and
Wow.
it has been driven and operated by mental health consumers throughout that time. We're very proud of that. We are proud to be able to be a primary example of how people with mental illnesses can become contributing members of society and lead meaningful lives, and that's really what recovery is all about. People can and do recover. It's not just a possibility, it's a probability. But very often consumers of mental health services need some help and need some support along the way, and that's what the Mental Health Association does. It provides mental health consumers a place where they can develop their own programs, develop their own support networks, and take a look at where they are now and where do they want to be. They're welcome at whatever point in their recovery that they're at. If somebody comes in once a day, that's up to them. If they come in once a year, that's up to them. But as long as they come and take advantage of the opportunities we have to pursue recovery, then we're doing our job.
And as long as they have you on camera, the phone number, because you'll even speak to him if you call this number.
Yes, you can.
And that number?
452-4462.
Nice number. Bill, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Phil. It's been a
I appreciate
pleasure.
it very much. And thank you for being with us. We appreciate you being with us on this day. Again, Bill Grove, the CEO of the Mental Health Association of Northwestern Pennsylvania, located, excuse me, right at 11th and Peach. Until next time, you take care. I'm Phil Fatica.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.